I really appreciate you coming by and checking out the new office. We're super excited about it, and it's always great partnering with you. And I thought today might be a great day to talk about, the boat buying experience, like from not everything from start to finish, but the majority, like the brass tacks of it, so people have an understanding, because it seems like there's not a lot of understanding of how our role takes place in procuring a boat for someone. I mean, as a broker, we have a certain mythology behind it. Thought it'd be fun to discuss. Similar to homes.
Similar to homes. Yeah. By the way, I love the spot here. You guys are in Ventura Harbor now. Congratulations on the new move. It's exciting for you and your family.
Yeah, it's definitely something we've been trying to do for a while, and this spot became available through the Safe Harbor company, and we've got some really good display docks where we can have boats right in front of us here, and it's going to be exciting. I'm pumped up.
And it's a public dock during the day, right? So people can come over here, they want to launch a kayak, they can do that.
Yeah, it looks like N Dock, from what I understand, is got public access for putting a kayak in or a stand-up paddleboard or just getting down on the dock, and I think it has certain hours. But outside that other gate is where we have our display dock.
Cool. So one day I want to buy a boat. It's my goal. As long as my wife, you're watching this, you gotta let me buy a boat one day. But like walking through the process, I know how to sell a house, but what's it like buying a boat?
Yeah, so with numerous avenues of advertising via the internet, some print advertising, word of mouth, walking down a display dock, I think it's kind of crucial, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a yacht broker, but I think there's a lot of things that people have to be cautious about in moving forward with such a large purchase. It's a lifestyle change, and it's not a you want to be prepared for what's ahead of you. There's a lot of great things that go on, but you have to know the costs of things. So I think picking a good broker, again, not just myself, but finding a broker that you can trust, who has an experience level within this specific area, enables them to make a right decision for the type of boat that you might need per your discussion of what their thoughts are of owning a boat. Like, are you a fisherman? Are you a cruiser? Are you a combo? Do you want to do long trips? Do you want to kind of get your feet wet with something small? Those are all things that we're going to go over. We don't necessarily, as our company is, we don't have to sell you what we have. We network all over the world, I should say, with different brokers. We have the ability to represent a buyer if there's a unit that's not in our inventory, or there's a specific boat that we don't have for you, but we have zoned in on, we'll go find it.
What do you specialize here? You do have some accounts with other boat makers here, right? What do you use?
So we've been a very successful Parker boat dealer. It's a very simplistic fishing style boat that has, divers like them, fishermen like them. They're not very creature comforty, but they're purpose built. Simple, strong, reliable, and there's a pretty good following for them. They do really well in these specific waters. Keep you dry, keep you warm, and get you offshore.
So what would be the first thing I would need to do if I wasn't looking to buy? But do I need to get pre-approved first, or is it something that I can come look at, kind of window shop?
Yeah, I think it goes back to, again, it's like finding someone that you can speak with on your understandable terms, and know that he's not overselling you. He's just trying to educate you into buying something that's going to work for you. So we try to figure out what the application's going to be, the boat. Then we figure out what the budget's going to be. Then we'll sit you down and we'll give you, costs of ownership. I mean, everything from the slip fees to the maintenance to the usage cost, to the insurance, to the resale value of it. We try to overturn all those stones that you don't get surprised later. And it really makes buying something that much easier once you have that knowledge behind you. Once we feed you that information, now you're like, wow, I didn't think about that, or man, that's really good, I know about that now because I probably don't want to do that, or oh, that's easy and you guys can help us do it. So we just want everything on the table for people. We don't want to oversell them and have them a bad experience and then they're out of boating. You know, and you can do that by overselling. You can do that by just selling them something that they think they need, being lazy and not really getting to what, you know, you're a professional. So you're supposed to, you know, guide them properly on what's going to work here. Just like a house. If, you know there are 4 people who are going to live in it, you're not going to sell them a 1-bedroom house. You're going to open up and figure out what they want to do. So the cost of usage, and then just assure that they have a place to put it, whether it be on the water, at a slip, or in dry storage, or is it something that's supposed to fit in their driveway? You know, all those things need to be discussed.
And you kind of take them from the start to the finish, including inspections and things like that, right? Is it similar to buying a house where you have a little bit of time to inspect the boat, or do you kind of need to go in there cold and hope everything works out?
Yeah, I mean, no, we don't do the hope everything works out type. I mean, we do in thought process, because we don't really list anything that we don't really have a good, you know, understanding of. More importantly, there's a contingency plan that's typically put into place when you're buying a boat. The first thing you do is obviously pick the right boat, do a market analysis for the buyer, tell them, hey, these are what are available, these are what they've sold for, here's a general idea of what the numbers should be in entering into a contract. Then you draft a contract. That contract has terms and conditions to protect the buyer, to protect the seller, and to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And it has to do with you know, hull inspection. It's very similar to a home inspection. And then in power boats, we tend to have a separate mechanical survey because you want a specific mechanic, brand oriented, that's gonna do a real qualitative assessment of that motor and give you his best view of what the longevity and what the current status of that motor is. So there's essentially 2 different inspections, the hull and then the engines.
So when you buy a boat, you go through the inspection process. Let's say we buy something, for example, Parker's got twin 250s, and let's say the port engine, during your inspection, it comes out as needing some work to be done. Can you then negotiate that even though you've already agreed on the price, or are you kind of locked in?
So the seller has agreed to sell the boat at a specific number, and we are working on the thought process that he has disclosed everything that he knows about. So if there's something that comes up in a survey, to answer your question about the seller having to give that allowance, he does not. The buyer has the ability to negotiate that. The seller has the ability to deny it. But at the end of the day, the only way that deal is going to come together is if everybody's on the same page. So there is negotiation with allowances, the unforeseen things, the safety items. Those are pretty much, in my book, non-negotiable. You can't sell something to somebody and it not work unless it's disclosed. And then there's a price for that versus a price for everything that's perfect.
So it's really similar to a request for repair when buying residential real estate or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about the loan process? Is that also similar? Are there contingencies to getting a loan? For example, do you need to do a whole inspection before you get the loan, or how does that work with getting a loan for a boat? Yeah,
so the finance companies and the insurance companies pretty much work in the same kind of rotation. You're going to have to assess a value of that boat to insure it. You're going to have to assess a value to loan value it. So the hull inspection is the critical piece that gives the ability for a third-party inspector who is NAMS and SAMS certified to give a market evaluation, which assures the bank back in Cleveland, Ohio, that's loaning money to a guy in California. They've never seen the boat, but now they're entrusting a third party to give it a value. And it's imperative to have an idea both on the insurability end of it if you had a claim, plus at the purchase to get a good rate, to figure out how much they want you to put down, and the risk evaluation on the lender.
So it's similar to a home appraisal?
Very, very similar.
Okay, so right now with interest rates being where they're at, if appraisal comes in lower on a boat, is that something that goes back to the negotiations like it would for purchasing a home, where you can renegotiate, or do you not see that as much?
Yeah, we don't see renegotiating because we wouldn't be really selling anything that wasn't already in line. We, as our brokerage is concerned, is we put things in line so that we don't have these speed bumps mess with us down the line after all this work's been done. We assess the market prior to even listing the boat. So you may have a lender that says, hey, we're only willing to give you $100,000 for this, what you feel is a $150,000 value boat. Our risk factor is going to reach out to 120 per se. Then you would just have to put more money down, is how we've seen that situation work itself out. Just more money.
Anything else we missed or we could talk about more, or is this pretty much?
That's pretty much it. Just never be in a hurry to buy something. Really do your due diligence. Make sure it is the best decision based upon the knowledge that you have. And again, that goes back to go to someone that you entrust that's not just trying to sell you something. They're trying to sell you a lifestyle that's going to blossom into multiple boats. So, yeah.
Well, appreciate your time.
Absolutely, man. Good to see you.